people are so worried about saying something that they say nothing. Judgment. And it's at this point, if you don't agree with me, then you're completely wrong and you don't count. And that's just BS to me because some of my best friends and I do not agree on a lot of things, and that is normal. However, when you start saying, I can't hang out with them because they don't believe like me, then why the heck do you think we're going to change? Why do you think anything is going to work out? In the past, it used to be that you didn't hear everything, but now you hear so much, and so much of it is being framed to only align with what you like. So the more you hear things being aligned with what you like.
Now I think we are segued to topics that you can speak for a long time. Insights on the bank methodology. And I will just tell people who think it's not financial institution and and you are certified BANKIOS, which I still not sure what is about, coach and trainer.
Informational operating system. So that's the first level. Then we call it fundamentals in sales and relationship. Speed coding is you look at the environment, you look at the way they dress. Look, I'm in a print thing, it shows flowery. It's not, you don't see somebody's logo on my shirt because I don't need to have I could spend $500 for a t-shirt. Where others are like, oh no, I can only wear the best because I want to hang out with the best. So each of these 4 cards has 12 words on them. And when you've organized these so that they match who you are, for me, it's nurturing first. It's about those authentic relationships. It's about being connected and being truly who I am and allowing others to be who they are. Then for me, it's the action. I need to have fun. I didn't have money, but I still needed to have people come over. We needed to giggle on a Friday night or a Saturday night. We needed to be able to find ways to feel like we were spontaneously doing something exciting on a different level than most. But for me, it was exciting enough. And then it's knowledge. Knowledge is about learning, always being the one who can look at things from A to Z. And frequently with knowledge, people will say you can't sell to them because they have to vet it themselves. But the other thing is, if you give them enough information, they vet it. You stop talking about trying to push them. And then blueprint. Blueprint is what people figured I must be high in because I was drawing blueprints. I was creating frameworks. I was working to budgets. Everything I built was on budget and on time. In fact, they were frequently ready early. People would go, how do you do that? I'm like, you just work to what's done. You make it work for the project. You make it work for the team. So I solved these points by working with these 3. That's not typical of others. Those that see this are like, you didn't do step 1. And I'm like, nah, that wasn't important to me. But to somebody whose step 1 is important, I can piss him off in a heartbeat because I ignored what they know to be the rules. I didn't follow the process. And what was interesting is I was doing consulting with a design firm when I was first introduced to this. And we had a team of about 15 to 20 young architects and designers. And I started going, oh, that's why so-and-so would ask me, what do I do first? And I'm thinking, you're a creative idea processing gal. What do you mean you need to know what to do first? But then I realized she needed a blueprint structure. She wanted to make sure that what she was doing first was really going to be the right thing to start with. So I could turn to her and say, would you help us create a checklist? And give her a responsibility within the team that related to what her skills and values were. The ones that were knowledge that were like, ooh, I'm really into lighting. I'm like, great. Will you research all the lighting components we need? We need information about these. Will you bring that back to the team? The one that was like a go-getter and a self-starter that would be bored in meetings, and you were also able to show them that you respected what each of them brought to the team. and you could challenge them in a way to understand why the deadlines were important from their point of view, not from something else. And that a mistake wasn't a mistake, it was a new learning. What did we learn from that? You never made it wrong. You made it, that was an interesting thing for us to discover so it doesn't happen again.
For our listeners striving to reinvent their life, careers, or businesses being after 50, could you explain this bank personality profiling system can help them to decide or accelerate success?
So, what's interesting is when you start to understand the values that have driven you, you can start to see why certain positions aren't great for you. I had an architect working with me, incredible architect, somebody who had trained for the Olympics to do shooting and a couple of other things. Not really the triathlon, but some of those multitask type things. He was so accurate and so detailed. The fact that we were working on projects that had a fast turn and required you to do them real rapidly, not perfection, but rapidly, just drove him up the wall. And he would go, I just don't see how you managed to do all of this. I said, this is not the job for you. I said, it is not that you are, do not think that you are failing here, but recognize you need to work with something that is not this high pace, not this chaotic. You need to find a position that allows you to really create that detail that you love to focus on. And so I didn't have to wait for him to reach a point where the rest of the company is like, why isn't he achieving what he needs to achieve? I said, go find something else. And he ended up working for the Federal Reserve for a number of years, helping them build banks, something that he didn't have to rush through in the same way he did with a retail project that needed to turn in a day. You harness what is important in the way they process things, which allows you to look for things that are better related to your skills, your heart, and how you process between here and what serves what you need to do. And sometimes we get so hooked on what was I doing that you think that's the only thing that defines you. When I was cashiering in the grocery store, the gal who had been the admin to every CEO, and I went through 8 CEOs in the 12 years I was at the department store, so she'd seen a lot. She comes through my grocery line and she is crying. And I'm like, why are you crying? She says, I'm sorry to see you drop to this level. And I'm like, honey, this does not define me any more than being the DVP of store planning defined me. I said, but this puts food on the table and I'm off on the side looking for architecture jobs. I'm okay with it. Please do not feel that this is beneath me. And please do not say that anybody here is at a lower level than me because they're cashiering as a grocery clerk. It does not make you a different human being. It's a choice I made because in that moment, it got me out in public. It got me doing something that was taking care of family. And it was something that allowed me to make transition.
I wish many people will look at life like you are. And you are really example of what is dignity and what is a real understanding of values is, in my view. With your involvement in code breaker technologies, I understand the company you're working, how do you think technology is changing the landscape of personalized communication and sales strategies that you actually working around?
What I love about this company, and this is a company, let's say somebody's in transition and they want to be in business for themselves. This is a company, if they want to join, I can help them figure out how this could be an option for them because you can either speak about it and sell it, or you can use it in your business. Both of those are options. What I love about this is when I was introduced to it, I got the 4 cards and I got audio of 7 hours of training. That was in 2015. In 2019, we launched an AI that allowed us to take a written script and say, is it written in the code the way we think it is? Which was just phenomenal to get to play with in 2019. So I could sit in a meeting with somebody and say, hey, talk to my phone. Tell me how you see yourself in your business. I could record it. I could drop it into the AI and I could say, you just spoke in this bank code. Does that match you or does that match your client? And in some cases, it didn't match either, but it matched the way they thought they should be talking. And we could talk about who is your client? Are they nurturing first? Or are they people that are all about, I got this checklist, I got to make it happen this way? Are you communicating with them in a way that really is how they hear things? It just became an incredible way to be seeing AI as something that was human first in the sense that it was talking about respecting somebody's values. What's real interesting is the gal who created it is action first with nurturing second. And geez, why isn't people not doing more selling? But most of us are in there because of the heart base of it. The fact that it does allow us to connect with people. And I don't see it as replacing all these other personality codes because a lot of those are psychometric. They talk about your, all sorts of things in terms of how you operate from a psychology point of view, understanding those differences. I had during the lockdown in 2020, somebody reach out to me from India. The gentleman, all I got was a LinkedIn thing. And at that time, I could crack his code and see that he appeared to be a little more action, but the company he was representing was definitely a technology company that was high knowledge. And when I could look at the other names of executives with that team, they would also be knowledge. So I approached him on the fact that my guess is you must be doing sales and the high action part of a team that is much more structured and knowledge based. Or if you're knowledge and your family's all action, you'd rather be buried in a book researching something, going to a conference, and your family's gone, why aren't you out playing? Why aren't you out running around? Why are you insecure and staying home? And I'm not insecure. I just don't care about that. And it didn't make them wrong, but it just made them different. And the others didn't understand it enough to respect it. And when you think of the number of kids feeling like they don't know who the hell they are because their family's trying to tell them they need to be like everybody else. Excuse me for saying, but my language skills sometimes deteriorate.
No, I didn't find anything out of norm. You speak your mind, you speak your heart, you speak how you actually see the world we are living in, and it seems very relevant.
And sometimes that's part of what's difficult. People are so worried about saying something that they say nothing.
Tell me, please, when it started? Because I live in North America for 27 years. I live in Canada. You live in the United States, and our lives were different till we met, even now. So when this trend became a trend that free freedom loving Americans, Canadians, people who were raised on the best literature of spirit and freedom and independence, started to afraid to speak their mind. And if they're speaking, I understand there is a different levels. There is decency, there's tact, there is many, but versus a fear became part of.
Judgment. It's the judgment. And it's at this point, if you don't agree with me, then you're completely wrong and you don't count. And that's just BS to me because some of my best friends and I do not agree on a lot of things. And that is normal. However, when you start saying, I can't hang out with them because they don't believe like me, then why the heck do you think we're going to change? Why do you think anything is going to work out? In the past, it used to be that you didn't hear everything, but now you hear so much. And so much of it is being framed to only align with what you like. So the more you hear things being aligned with what you like, I'm the one who always is saying, you know what pisses me off about the way information is culled to align us with what we have already chosen to look at. I want the stuff that doesn't align with me so that I can understand the differences in the world and the differences of opinion. And I want to understand what brings that to be the important opinion for them. Is it because that is from a blueprint process? That is the way it has always been. That blueprints are reluctant to change. For them, when you're talking about changing something, you really have to show them where the change is going to be a positive effect for them to risk. They're risk avoidant. Whereas the action's like, I'm all about the change if there's an opportunity in it. You get those two arguing about something, you have to come to a point where what serves them both. And we're not at this point as likely to work for what serves us both. It's come down to how do we win? How do we win instead of how do we both win? And I think we're at a point in life where there are a lot of people trying to go, we need to find the middle again. We need to find that ability to have those discussions. Monthly, I have a dinner conversation, and it has, over this past year, come down to a group of maybe 5 to 10 people that get together, and it's mostly women at this point, but I call it my table of soul. And I don't necessarily pick a topic. I thought I might pick a topic, but it's been really fun to just let it evolve and let it be. We're getting together. We're going to talk about whatever comes up. Who's having a hard time? Hey, who started something that they want a little bit of feedback on? Or, geez, I haven't seen you. You didn't make it last month. What's new and exciting? Those kind of conversations are where life builds. So I'm starting to see some of these people who didn't know each other start to find ways to work together on something that they're both passionate about, that I'd have no clue to introduce them for that. But I have people for years tell me, I don't know how you manage to put together people at your dining room table that are interesting, unique, and you don't end up with fights. I said, when you work with people who are respectful of others, you can still have the differences, but it doesn't necessarily always go well. But you work through it.
Susan, what insights can you share about managing stress and finding balance in one's professional and personal life, and actually finding the balance with what is going on around us? Because many people are worried these days, full of fears, uncertainty. Even they are okay from professional personal side, because the stress became underlying feature of our life. What you would say?
Two things: step away from a lot of it. People keep digging for more. And sometimes you have to step back and give yourself quiet. And I know that monkey mind is like going 90 miles an hour, but sometimes you have to do that. And then reframe the conversation. Sometimes when you're telling somebody that so and so did this to you, no, somebody did what was easiest for them to do. And it had nothing to do with you, but your judgment of what it was framed from what has either happened to you in the past or what you were hoping for in the future. And you have to reframe those with that forgiveness, not in a way that's going to change what they did to you, maybe, but in a way that you go, how is that the best they could do in this moment? And how do I deal with that for what I need in my life? Do I still hold them here, or do I release them and say, love you, but bye bye? And I don't mean that in an ugly way, but there are some friends that people keep because they've always been my best friend. And it's your best friend isn't growing, and they need to maybe stay planted where they're at while you're growing into something else. It doesn't mean you are like, I can never speak to you again, but it's maybe I maybe spend a little less time with you. And I find that circle that helps me to expand myself. A book I stumbled upon recently, and I'm almost done with it in audio. It seems so appropriate for you on this day. And hold on, let me find the title so I can, because I am not the best at it all. Karen Walrond, Walrond, Reclaim Radiant Rebellion, Reclaiming Aging, Practicing Joy, and Raising a Little Hell.
Oh, I need to read it. It's not good. You will share after, yes. And I,
But what I love about it is she's 55 and she's talking about the whole thing of ageism and how we have framed it up as bad instead of looking at it the way in times past it was looked at as good. And she's talking about the chapter I'm on right now is called Mission Possible. What can you possibly do to have the life you want? What do you need to do movement wise to move the way that is comfortable for you? You don't need to do CrossFit because everybody else is doing CrossFit. Maybe for you, it's hula hooping. Maybe for you, it's just a walk. Maybe for you, it's a walk in the woods, whereas somebody else, it's a walk around the block. Understanding what feeds you joy, where you find your peace. One of the things I've always said, because when I lived in Arizona, I did many trips to the Grand Canyon. I am in no shape to hike it at this point, but I've hiked it from the North Rim, from the South Rim, from Hermits, various different things. And I can remember laying on the ground down in the bottom. And one of my friends says, if we had a gun at this point, I'm not sure if I'd shoot so and so for suggesting this or me to put me out of my misery. And you recognize that you prep for something, but you didn't prep well enough to sustain it the way you thought you might. But it's still an incredible experience that you're ready to continue on. And a mile further up the road, we're under a waterfall and looking at stuff and going, holy crap, this is magical. I have said to many people, I feel closer to God in the Grand Canyon than I do in any church. And I am somebody from an architectural standpoint, incredible cathedrals just give me the chills. I can find both religion and nature to serve me in different ways. And I can find things in religion that I'm like, that is full of crap. And Buddhism seems to have a lot of things here, and Rumi. And you can just look at all these different pieces as having wisdom in them, and where they come together in commonality can sometimes be way more important than saying this religion over that religion. And understanding who we are as individuals and who we are as communities, because we do need connection. And life is about how we find connection. For some of us, it's not paired up one to one. For some of us, it's I'm still an individual and I need my freedom, but I still need a community to have conversations with, to go to dinner with, to understand what gives me joy and what gives me purpose. Because I think as we age, we really start to understand we need purpose, not just a title, not just a I did this. We need to know that it really served a purpose in life. And that's where people talk about legacy. You really hear a lot about legacy right now. And your legacy may not be family.
And you know what? That's why name of my podcast, Age of Reinvention. Redefine freedom, lifestyle, and purpose in midlife. Because in different stages, chapters of our life, we have different purpose, and it's normal. And many people are lost when in 50s, 60s, they need to redefine their purpose. And here we're going to the question, my standard to each of my guests, advice for midlife reinvention. For our listeners in midlife looking to redefine their freedom, lifestyle option, and purpose, what advice can you offer about pursuing your passion, changing careers, and starting new ventures? I know you were speaking about it in each of the answers, but summarizing.
Find what are the things that you have, what are the skills that you're best at, and focus on how those can be reinvented in other industries. In some cases, it's not looking at it within the industry you've been, but in what part of doing that job was exciting for you? What gives you joy? And then is there something that you're passionate about? Right now, with what I'm doing with the dropout recovery and banks looking at how we can help education and keep kids from feeling that they are isolated and fearful about moving forward in life, how to stop bullying, how to avoid suicides and all this craziness that's going on when they can feel that they are understood. So that's taking me in a direction I didn't think I'd be going at this point, but it's a good one to be in. And to not ever decide that you are a done or a failure because you didn't reach this other pinnacle. Because really sometimes it's looking at the pieces from the past that put together a puzzle that you can create a future out of. And it really is creating the puzzle that is your next phase in life.
I really like it. Thank you very much, dear Susan. I'm really happy to reconnect with you, and I will do it once in a while. Just a source of inspiration for me and for other people around. And what an enriching conversation we've had with Susan Younger today.
Thank you. I've had a great time being with you today, Emily. Lovely to reconnect.
Thank you, Susan. Susan, thank you for sharing your experiences and insights on how embracing simplicity can lead to actually extraordinary outcomes. It's clear that no matter where we are in life, there is always a chance to reinvent and find deeper purpose and fulfillment. To our listeners, we hope today's episode inspires you to explore, evolve, and maybe even simplify your path to success. Remember, in the age of reinvention, it's never too late to pursue your dreams and redefine your purpose. Remember to visit our social media pages to share your stories of reinvention and hear more incredible journeys like Susan's. Until next time, keep redefining, keep discovering, and pushing the boundaries of what you believe is possible. I'm Emily Bron, and this has been The Age of Reinvention. Thank you for listening, and I look forward to the next episode and next stories of triumph and success.